Sheriff Todd Baxter, employees of the Miami County Sheriff's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, employees of the Miami County District Attorney's Office, Paul C. Messer and James Bailey Jr. in Town Court, Alex Renzi in your State Supreme Court. My name is Chris Chichester. I have been in jail 6 times as an innocent man where a prosecutor doesn't talk court. Perry Duckles, Deputy District Attorney, Mark Monahan, the Assistant District Attorney, what are the names of my prosecutors? You refuse to tell me because you're corrupt. So is your boss, District Attorney Doorley. I did not update the Freedom of Information law, where I'm demanding for 18 months to disclose these names to me. Because the time today, I only have so much time in Rochester, New York to try to get my life together because I'm moving back to Albany, where I lived in the city for 5 years and in Albany County for 10 years. So, tomorrow or within the next 48 hours, I will update the Freedom of Information law that I will transmit to you via YouTube, via Gmail or Proton Mail, and I'll put it in the mail, registered mail return receipt, where Sandra Doorley can sign for it again, and Sandra Doorley again will refuse to tell me the names of my prosecutors of silence. How is any citizen in jail in the state of New York when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? A prosecutor has never talked in court. A reason I have so many criminal charges, I'm going to get to the fiction and the fantasy in the heads of these hacks and sociopaths, the Sheriff's Office and Pembroke Town Court, is because you're hitting me with these charges. Just have one right after another, and then you can keep me in jail as long as you want. When you don't have to talk at that district attorney's office. I'm talking about contempt of court in Pembroke Town Court, where this 70-year-old fossil extremist John P. Lomenzo Jr., who released accused child rapist Dan Blouse III because he has a relationship with the family, is holding me in contempt of court. I'm going to explain why. So Todd Baxter, Benito Mussolini's skinhead who doesn't know if he's a Democrat or Republican, this is from you. Before I acquired the payroll, this is a significant time ago. This is June 20th, 2019. This is after I got out of Monroe County Jail the first time I was using a foil upon you. I just don't put this in the mail, regular mail. You can see right up here, it says certified mail, and that's a tracking number there as I communicate with you, the District Finger Book in New York. So, I'm in Monroe County Jail the first time before John P. Lomenzo Jr. I'm walking through the parking lot for the 4,000th time, next to where I used to live at 26 Sanders Farm Drive in Penfield, and a man named Nayraj Shah, who's 50 years old and lives with his 7-year-old mother, begins to scream at me. This is how your revolting hack, Shannon Meyer, sets me up for criminal time second, where I'm not committing criminal time second. I would hope you, $0 Michael Riley, you $100,000 William Tadeo, and you, Scott O'Brien and Captain Mill, will play this for you, boss. She is a revolting, sick psychopath. The $67,000 Shannon Meyer, you gave a $16,000 raise to. So I'm walking through the parking lot on my way back from Gold's Gym. 4,000 times I've walked through this parking lot, just like everybody in Pembroke, New York that lives around me that I could see from the sliding glass door on my first floor and my second floor bedroom window. All day long, people walk through this parking lot. Lunatic brains, you will never know why people hate the police in the United States of America. Shannon Meyer is the poster cop for why people should hate the police in the United States of America. You freaked out, Baxter. So, Nayraj Shah begins to scream at me. I say, what's the problem? Shannon Meyer calls me. I speak to her on the phone for an hour. I say, people walk through this parking lot all day long. Why are you calling me? So, Meyer tells a man named Steve Debs of Brock Poultry and Lawn Care, ride your tractor by his residence, and if he comes outside, I'm going to arrest him with 5 other Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees. This is the problem with that. You disgusting Jonestown Kool-Aid drinker, Todd Baxter. I'm not committing criminal attempt second. She's in such desperation, your $83,000 psychopath, Shannon Meyer, to arrest me. This is what she comes up with. She's thinking at the sheriff's office, I want to arrest him. How do I do it? And she's using a civilian. How often at the sheriff's office do you use civilians in the concoction of crimes? Because Elliot Roth, who works at this business, 2025 Penfield Road, you put a camera on the building for me, says to me, you're going to be arrested shortly before this happens to me. So what happens to me? I call Timothy Murphy, the Monroe County Office of Property Tax Service. He can't confirm anybody owns the land next to where I live. And when I bought my house in the Albany, New York suburb of Guilderland in 1997, when I was 32 years old, my realtor, her name was Gloria, gave me a document that had a seal on it, a marker, a notarization, or something. Said, this is where you own this land on this cul-de-sac in Guilderland, New York. They have nothing like this Nayraj Shah and Len Kumar Shah. So I'm going to say this for you again. I will repeat things because corruption requires repetition. One, there's no documentation that proves there's land ownership next to my residence. Two, Timothy Murphy, the Monroe County Officer of Property Tax Services, can't confirm anything. And three, it's not a crime to tell a man on his tractor nobody owns land next to my residence. So Todd Baxter, I walk outside after Steve Desmond of Brock Country and Lawn Care Ryan distracted by my residence. I tell him nobody owns the land. I walk back to my residence. Meyer, half an hour later, runs into my backyard, falls down on her face. There's this psychopath pounding on my door. I go and answer it. I walk out to the front yard. After employees says we just want to talk to, Meyer runs around to the front. This hyperventilating freak has dirt on her face, dirt on her uniform, and the handcuffs go on. Do you understand, Todd Baxter, you sick degenerate, that that's not a crime? Tell me that is a crime. Because you're not going to disavow your sick degenerate Shannon Meyer. Tell me it's a crime. I'm going to write this down too, because I don't understand if you don't watch me. I will write this down and tell you, you Benito Mussolini skinhead, to tell me that's a crime to tell a man on his tractor nobody owns land next to my residence when nobody owns land next to my residence. You take me downtown, you put me in some kind of holding cell and urinated on myself. That's when the Monroe County Sheriff Office employee came to me with this gruesome smile. He had his phone in his hand, and he showed me a picture of me on his phone as a video image. And Todd Baxter, do you know what I'm talking about? Huh? Because the image that's on the phone of the Monroe County Sheriff Office employee is from this camera at 2025 Penfield Road. How many times do I have to say this? You disgusting, sick, revolting Jonestown Kool-Aid drinker, Todd Baxter. Is this private technology on this building at 2025 Penfield Road, where Elliot Roth is the president of a business called Consumer Insights? Or did you buy it and affix it for me and tell me the answer? That's a surveillance device camera. And when I'm calling a surveillance device, you hack sociopaths don't know what's going on with me. And then you're calling Lindsay Barron, the Monroe County Office of Mental Health, to come to my residence, where she chased me down a road called Willow Pond Way that connects to Sanders Farm Drive, where I used to live, where she's screaming outside the vehicle, I want to talk to Chris about the surveillance device. It's right here that I've been on repeatedly. And the public defender sent me the images in the person of public defender Regina Harper, the assistant public defender. I'm looking at myself on this thing over and over and over. I do not believe I have those links. You should have those links, and I'm going to demand them via Freedom of Information. You send me the links from this thing right here. Lunatic, fringe, Sheriff Todd Baxter, who doesn't know if he's a Democrat or Republican. Is this private technology you're using upon me? Because if you're then $67,000 cop freak, or did you buy it and fix it for me? And I communicate with you. This is in your office over and over. This is from January 16, 2023. The picture's in your office over and over. This I sent you here. Todd K. Baxter, Sheriff 130 South Plymouth Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14604. This photograph's why I'm a fanatic. This photograph's why I'm an extremist. This photograph's why I'm a liar. This photograph's why I'm literally me 67,000 Sussex Shannon Meyer. This photograph is why people hate the police. That's not a crime to tell a man on his tractor nobody owns the land next to my residence. 2 weeks later, before I make my appearance in Penfield Town Court for John Pilamenza Jr., $79,000 Andrew Reale knows me because he knows where I live. He knows my identity. I go to a gym called PW Fitness, which is now defunct. I'm on the bench press. Up walks to me Jermaine L. Bettman. He goes like this. I say, I'll be 30 seconds. Bettman stands over me, punches down my head, snaps back violently. Bettman walks away. I have to think about the inaction that day from me. I should have attacked him. He's a lot bigger than me, too, with a bald head. And the way he acts at the gym, I'm trying to avoid this guy. You, James Monley Jr., freed him. I'm going to be in jail for what I'm about to describe. And Jermaine Bettman, for violently attacking and assaulting me, is free because of Jessica Wagner at the district attorney's office. Your employee, Perry Duckles and Mark Monahan, negotiated to deal with this revolting sick act, James Monley Jr., on Penfield Town Court. It's James Monley Jr., Jessica Wagner, free Jermaine Bettman. I'm not free for anything. The man who attacks me is free. So, I go outside with Andrew Reale. He tells me to sit in the backseat of his vehicle. I am. And then Andrew Reale tells Jermaine Bettman what to say to me. I look to my left like this. Jermaine Bettman is standing right here. And then Jermaine Bettman says this to me, these 7 words. I want to press charges against you. That's how I'm charged with harassment. Second, Todd Baxter, I'll use the word disgusting over and over. This is exactly what you are. Todd Baxter, you disgusting freak. Who did I harass? Tell me the answer. You will. The truth is, I'm going to tell you what the truth is. I'm going to tell you what your answer is. The truth is, I didn't harass anybody. Your answer, you sick degenerate, is silence. So I have to call my mother and father and tell them about criminal contempt second and harassment second. Well, of course, my mother and father, when I'm past 50 at this point, I was 52 years old in 2017. No, I've never been arrested for anything. I have a speeding ticket in my place of employment in Washington, D.C. that was dismissed when I went to court. I have a speeding ticket in my place of employment in Albany, New York that was dismissed when I went to court. What I now know about these corrupt judges and these star chambers, it does not matter how you live your life. So I have to call my mother and father for both of these occasions. You think what you're doing to me or anybody that's an innocent citizen, it's one thing to be guilty, and then you have to talk to your friends and family members. I now know, existing in a state of innocence, how difficult it can be to talk to your friends and family members of what's happened to you. So I'm talking to my mother. I don't go by my full name. My whole life, I told my friends and family members, my girlfriends, my whole life, 40 years, 50 years, since I was in elementary school. I can remember being in elementary school and saying, just call me Chris. I would tell my teachers, just call me Chris. When I'm 10 years old, I would tell Miss Aronson at Wing Street Elementary School in Suffolk County, just call me Chris, because teachers sometimes will call children their full name. Only my mother and father call me my full name, and I'll correct them. So if I hold something up, it's not for narcissism. I'm not here to talk about my life that you've destroyed. It's in a million little pieces where prosecutors never talked in court, and I've been in jail 6 times. When I have to tell my mother, who's past 70 years of age, she's using my full name on the phone and asking me questions. I had to keep it together, and I did. I now know how to keep it together. I'm talking to friends and family members about you psychopaths at the sheriff's office. And my mother's saying to me, Christopher, how are you charged with harassment second when you're sitting in a police car? Christopher, how's it a crime to tell a man who's tracked nobody owns that land next to my residence? And this is agonizing. I was already out of jail for these 2 fictions, these 2 concoctions. My mother's using my full name. I'm thinking about you hacks and sociopaths and ciphers at the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, and Pamphlet Town Court the whole time. What's the name of that prosecutor before John Pimenzo Jr. that delivered me to Monroe County Jail, Perry Douglas and Mark Monahan? Is it Julie Hahn or is it not Julie Hahn? Tell her Christopher Chichester wants to talk to her, because I'm going to ask the exalted one who's on a court if she's my prosecutor. You know what the exalted one's going to do, Julie Hahn, who's not the victor? Refuse to respond. She would not have the decency to email me back if it's not her and say, this is not me. Because these judges are on this arrogant pedestal like Alex Renzi, believe they don't have to explain anything, and that's why they act like psychopaths. Alex Renzi doesn't think he has to explain a fucking thing, just like Paul C. Metzer and John Pimenzo Jr. So, if it's not Julie Hahn, who has my concocted charge of fiction and lies, harassment second, criminal contempt second, it's the payroll for the district attorney's office. If it's not her, that's the freak. The freak is right here. What's the name of the freak that didn't talk before John Pimenzo Jr. is delivered to Monroe County Jail for the fiction and fantasy in the heads of $67,000 Shannon Meyer and then $79,000 Andrew Reale? Who is it? Tell me who it is. I'm not just demanding to know these names, and I'll repeat myself on this. The Appellate Division of State Supreme Court is where an attorney is disbarred. I will be relentless about disbarment for all of them. I know what they look like. I just don't know their names. It is insane for you to refuse to tell me the names for prosecuting public proceeding. This is like the Duke lacrosse players not knowing that the psychopath prosecutor is Mike Knifeout. Who is it? How many times do I have to demand this of you? I'm not asking. Tell me the names. You know the name. Public Defender Julie Sianka, names. You know the names. Assistant Public Defender Mark Phillips. You know the names. Assistant Public Defender Regina Harper. Quote, the prosecutor's not backing down. That's the prosecutor before Paul C. Metzer. What's his name? I walked up to him in Penfield Town Court and said, "You're going to stand there and not talk." Total silence. I'll also use the Freedom of Information Law. I've been in court so many times, I do not know the exact dates I've been in court, either being violently attacked by Richard Seaman at the Penfield Public Library and delivered to policy matters when the district attorney's office is not notified, or being violently attacked outside the pharmacy entrance to Wegmans where I'm delivered to her. Other times, too, I do not know all the exact specific dates I have been in jail. Monroe County Jail, Livingston County Jail, and Geneseo. You tell me and you refuse. You will even refuse you Benito Mussolini skinhead Todd Baxter, $132,000 salary, to tell me the exact times I've been in Monroe County Jail. Because you're immoral. That's why. You're all immoral. When I use your names, when I use a name on here, a sheriff's office employee, district attorney's office employee, judge, that's an immoral person. You Perry Duckles are immoral. You Mark Monahan are immoral. What's immoral? Conflicting with generally traditionally held moral principles. You're conflicting with generally traditionally held moral principles. What are the names of my prosecutors? They're insane for you to refuse to tell me. And here is on May 27th. This is registered mail return receipt. I have communicated with you, registered mail return receipt, FedEx, and UPS. Over and over and over. Trinity Ross got this the first one. I've not contacted her directly. Whenever I send something to the district attorney's office, the sheriff's office, Mr. Ross, who's in Buffalo, gets it. Right here, Todd Baxter, on this May 27th, I'm telling you that you're employing violent psychopaths like Richard J. Seaman, a perjurer, like Michael Houlihan. Michael Houlihan's a perjurer. That doesn't matter to you, Todd Baxter. Lying and saying, I swear, he walked onto the private property of my neighbor. Is it legal for the cops in the United States of America to walk onto the private property? He ran at me with Don Benedetto. We get to the back porch. He said I swung a hammer at him. That's a lie. Do you know Michael Houlihan's a perjurer, Todd Baxter? Do you know Richard Stevens, a violent fanatic? Do you know Shannon Myers writing a warrant for my arrest for a parking lot I walked through 4,000 times? What's the answer, Todd Baxter? District Attorney Sandra, what are the names of our prosecutors? I'm telling you on this May 27th, you refused. Who elevated me into this $208,000 hacking fossil, Alex Renzi, who's in New York State Supreme Court with 25% of the vote? Who is it? It's the prosecutor assigned to him. I'm at my temporary residence because I was evicted. My landlord, Anthony Ospano, my landlord, just locked the door and locked me out. So I'm at my temporary residence, 70 Liberty Pole Way. Where they have hearts of gold. I'm here. I'm getting ready to move back to Albany. Robert J. Valente at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs is helping me over and over. I'm getting ready to move. Then I get this document in the mail when I'm here, forcing me into Alex Renzi, and then he remanded me to Monroe County Jail because Alex Renzi wants to examine my head. Who did that to me? It's the prosecutor assigned to Alex Renzi. One of you sick degenerates, one of you revolting hacks, one of you immoral ciphers force me into Alex Renzi when I'm here. Who is it? I would not be here holding up this card for Felix I. Ortiz, who is my case manager at this institution. If it wasn't for that, assistant district attorney forced me into Alex Renzi. Who is it? You refuse to tell me because you're corrupt. I was born at Booth Memorial Hospital in Queens on July 4, 1965, founded by the great William Booth. This terrific organization with individuals' hearts of gold is founded by William Booth. If Felix didn't help me, I would have been outside for weeks because of Anthony Ospano in Fairport, New York. This is what you're doing to me. It is a crime in the state of New York to lock a tenant out without a court order. 80-year-old Anthony Ospano of Fairport, New York, has no such court order. He thinks because I don't have a lease, he can do this to me. I was not outside because of what 80-year-old Anthony Ospano of Fairport, New York did to me because Felix I. Ortiz at 70 Liberty Pole Way helped me. I was outside in Harris Island Park. I would sleep on a bench next to the baseball field. And people would be going through the park past midnight. I'm out there around the wild animals. One time a raccoon came walking over. I had to stand up on the bench I was on. I don't know, it's ridiculous as it sounds. I had to sleep with having some type of awareness. Whenever I heard any type of sound, I'd sit up. And when it would rain, I'd go over to Target Penfield. Of course, you should know that Target's right next to Wegmans. And I would sleep underneath the trucks. And one night, I'd look around me, making sure nobody's around me after midnight, underneath the trucks when it's raining. And one of the Target trucks pulled up to unload the merchandise for that target. I got up immediately. I ran away. I ran away from the back of the target so no target employee in the trucks would see me. This is because of Antonino Spano. I'm sleeping in Harris Whalen Park because this is 80-year-old man psychopath. I'm underneath those trucks target. This is 80-year-old man psychopath. I'm underneath those trucks for walking through a park lot I've walked through 4,000 times because Nehra Shah and Leila Kumar Shah going to the sheriff's office about walking through that park lot. I'm underneath those trucks target. I'm sleeping in Harris Whalen Park because he then $67,000 freak Shannon Meyer. So, as far as the names of my prosecutors, this April 25th, I go to Patrick's Printing on East Main Street in Rochester. On this April 25th, this is $110.05. Well, I'm demanding information from. I think I sent you more than 50 Freedom of Information Law documents on this day. I have to check my records. I have a stack of Freedom of Information Law documents that's 3 feet high. You've complied twice when I've received the payroll from the Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office. On this April 25th, this is corruption. That's why I'm continuing all this up. I'm telling your boss where she got to see the registered mail return receipt, UPS or FedEx to tell me the names of my prosecutors. It's almost 2 months ago. How does she explain this to the Department of Justice? Which she thinks she doesn't have to explain anything. If you're asked, Mark Monahan and Perry Duckles, does Sandra Doorley comport herself with the highest degree of ethics, character, and integrity? I'll tell you what the answer is. The answer is no. Do you know why? You have something called the Conviction Integrity Unit. That's why. And I'm demanding information about that. Public Defender Judy Sianka, Mark Monahan, Perry Duckles, and the District Attorney's Office. Do I no longer have crime temp second and harassment second as charges to me that I have to report on a job application or any type of background check that's done on me? For example, when I go to adopt a dog, do I have to report that? Because I have been told, I believe by Regina Harper and Mark Phillips, that those charges are no longer in a criminal record for me. But I don't know. I'm going to write this down too. Where you tell me at the District Attorney's Office, if I go to apply for a job with a job application, if I go to adopt a dog at a dog adoption society like Lollipop or somewhere in Albany, if I have to report criminal temp second and harassment second when I haven't committed any of those crimes, what's the extent of the fiction and the fantasy in your heads at the Sheriff's Office, the District Attorney's Office, for my so-called criminal record? Does not matter to you. See the shirt I'm wearing? It's not my clothes. You know why? I don't have any clothes. So I go to the Goodwill in Rochester. Sure, you know what that is in South Clinton. Each one of these less than $5. I got 4 shirts. This is because of you. I'm at that Goodwill. I'm thinking about you hacks, sociopaths, and ciphers, and fanatics. When I'm in that Goodwill, when I'm buying clothes, I don't have any clothes because 80-year-old Anthony Spano. You understand what I'm talking about here? I have no clothes because of 80-year-old Anthony Spano locked the doors and locked me out of Fairport, New York. I slept in Harris Whalen Park because this 80-year-old man psychopath. And the reason why he won't be arrested, prosecuted, charged, nothing, is because he's 80 years old. This is exactly what you hacks and ciphers are going to decide about this 80-year-old man who speaks in broken English. He could be an immigrant from Italy, but that ridiculous broken English is also going to protect him. He's going to say he's an 80-year-old man. He didn't know what he was doing, and that's why he's not going to be prosecuted, jailed. Nothing's going to happen to him, even though it requires a court order to lock a tenant out in Rochester, New York, anywhere in the state of New York, even when a tenant doesn't have a lease. I didn't have a lease for the 5 years I lived in Washington, D.C. Didn't have a lease for the 5 years I lived in Albany, New York. I had no hesitation whatsoever to live at 26 Sanders Farm Drive in Penfield, New York, without a lease, and I should have. Because I wouldn't have been underneath the trucks at Target. I wouldn't have been in Harris Whalen Park if I had a lease. I would have been protected. So, I've sent this to your office over and over here. This is how I'm at Livingston County Jail, and I had to give a statement about a violent attack. I'm not going to go into that because I'm already 24 minutes here. But I'm asking this Sheriff Thomas Doorley. This is where I'm violently attacked in front of Metzler. I say, so I'm going to read this first bullet point here. The Sheriff Thomas Doorley in Livingston County, where I don't live. It says, why wasn't I inmate at Livingston County Jail when I'm a citizen of Monroe County Sheriff Baxter? Sheriff Doorley, this is in your office. Well, I'm telling you, you disgusting, nauseating, revolting hack and criminal Todd Baxter, to tell me what I'm doing in Livingston County Jail. And this Thomas Doorley's going to refuse to answer to. I sent this to him. So, who's Frank Chernetsky, Todd Baxter? Hmm? You know Frank Ternetsky. Do you know why, Todd Baxter? Because I demanded length of service. When I worked in the New York State Capitol, there was a man, this in the early 1990s, who was past 70, worked for Governor Nelson Rockefeller, didn't have a job, worked on the 5th floor. He'd walk around the Capitol all day. I believe Frank Ternetsky is just like this man. He's just the old man at the jail, stands around doing nothing. 57 years employee, Frank Ternetsky. How is this answer when I start to go to the media or your regulators or anybody else that could bring the heat upon your bald head? Frank Ternetsky, if Frank Ternetsky was hired when he's 18, he's a 75-year-old man at the jail. Is this the 75-year-old man at the jail that Frank Ternetsky, who's a 57-year employee of the sheriff's office? When I contact the Commission on Correction in Albany, which I think has 3 commissioners, I'm going to tell them you refuse to answer. I'll print this out. I'll have the transcript. So, this is the payroll for the sheriff's office with all your freaks. And I already talked about the freak who attacked me at the sheriff's office. Again, I'll repeat myself. When I write the criminal complaint, Richard Day Seaton slamming his arm to the side of my head, and then my head hits surrounded out. You won't be arrested, fired, nothing, because you're in the embrace of violence. So he's on here, this freak Seaton, 75, 904, and 40 cents. Richard Seaton really needs that 40 cents to violently attack citizens. So on his payroll here, here's Shannon Meyer, 83, 291, and 42 cents. Michael C. Hunt, Michael C. Williams, perjurer. Right here, 73,312.85. I don't think Don $85,000 Don Better was there too. And Lee LaRoque, you're in my register with our doctor. That's a search warrant. Lee Y. LaRoque, 9705, 075, 30 cents. So you have your freaks on here. Don Benedetto, Lee LaRoque, Michael Houlihan, Shannon Meyer. All 4 of those names are all freaks. Michael Houlihan and Don Benedetto, when they run at me and lied and said I swung a hammer at them. Michelle Crowley, why didn't you call me to the grand jury when Michael Houlihan hit on the private property of my elderly neighbor who lives alone with a dog? And how did you pick the grand jurors? Does it take a majority vote for me to be your personal ham sandwich, Michelle Crowley? Because I've been demanding that of you. And you're refusing to tell me. This is attached to PDF on June 2nd. When I write this again, the next 24, 48, 72 hours, you, Michelle Crowley, nauseating, sick degenerate, refuse to comply with this. It's attached to PDF. I'm going to update this. When I send this to your office, you refuse. When I read it now, you refuse. You refuse every single time to answer these questions. June 2nd. Freedom of Information Law. Information about the grand jury convened by District Attorney Sandra Doorley to target Christopher Chichester as 1, the month, day, and year the grand jury is convened. 2, the assigned District Attorney's Office employee that addressed the grand jury. 3, the witnesses that testified to the grand jury. 4, the vote of the grand jurors. 5, a transcript of the grand jury proceeding. You should have all that information and delivered to me, transmitted to me. And you refuse, Michelle Crowley, because you're corrupt. Your boss, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, refused because she's corrupt. How do you possibly convene this grand jury, these 18 to 24 anonymous idiots, and I don't know it's convened? Because you're corrupt. The thing I'm interested in, perhaps the most about this, is what's the vote? If there are 24 grand jurors, am I indicted as your ham sandwich with a vote of 13? Does it have to be unanimous? How's that done? This is all done. I hate to use this word because I don't sound like a conspiracy theorist, but in secret. It has to be. There's no media in there. That's what I mean when I say in secret. It's you, Michelle Crowley, with these 1824 anonymous idiots, and is that it? Is that the grand jury that indicts me for fiction and fantasy, Michael Houlihan's head? You revolting sick hack, director of the grand jury, Michelle Crowley. Tell me the answer. Christopher.chichestermail.com. Answer me. And you know what? I hope you don't. Because when I pursue your disbarment, I'm telling you here, and this has been transmitted to the district attorney's office, that you're refusing to answer. Then I have a case that you can be disbarred. Jonestown Kool-Aid drinkers, every single one of you. That's Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office, Pemberton Town Court. Alex Renzi. Alex Renzi is the Jonestown Kool-Aid drinker in Monroe County. I believe that he is the most powerful person in Monroe County. And who forced him into me? America has a ham sandwich. He is right here. This is Donald Trump, born in Queens, New York. He's a ham sandwich. I'm Chris Chichester. I'm born in Queens, New York. I'm a ham sandwich. This is the frightening power of a district attorney's office when the president of the United States is a target of a fanatical, corrupt, degenerate prosecutor in Alvin Bragg. I stand no chance. This is why he can smash me into a million little pieces. If the president of the United States is a ham sandwich, if the president of the United States right now is at risk of going to jail or prison, this can happen to anybody. There needs to be reform in every state for district attorney's office, but especially in New York, given what Alvin Bragg has done to Donald Trump, who I'm no fan of. I'm not MAGA. That's not me. So, what did you think about what happened when you saw this? Because you have Republicans and Democrats. Not everybody's MAGA, Make America Great Again, which is just a part of the Republican Party. Did you love what happened to him at the district attorney's office? Did you think that his civil and constitutional rights were violated? They had to take Mark Pomerantz out of retirement, who's 70 years old, to go after Donald Trump. You probably loved it because you're psychopaths at the district attorney's office. That's why. Because you're psychopaths at that sheriff's office. That's why. So Todd, Baxter, and Sandra Doorley, I went to Walmart. I found this wallet. I'm looking at this wallet at Walmart. I'm thinking this is one of the greatest pieces of merchandise I've seen in any store in the United States of America my long life that I've walked into. And, I thought I'm going to buy my new Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley, Paul C. Metz, James Riley Jr., Alex Renzi wallet here. This is exactly what I think about you. So, right here, this is on September 26, 2022. This is corruption. September 26, 22, 70 Libby Pole Way. Alex Renzi, this is tracked. He got it. I'm telling Alex Renzi to tell me the names of my prosecutors. I'm telling you, Todd Baxter, I'm being violently attacked in September. It's understandable for Alex Renzi not to refuse to tell me the names of my prosecutors. This is corruption here. I'll make copies just so you can see it. On that date, which is September 27, 2022, this is your name, Sandra Doorley, from UPS, 6+ months ago, where I'm telling you to disclose the names of my prosecutors. For 18 months, I'm telling you to disclose the names of my prosecutors. And you're refusing every single time. How many times I've done this? This is a loft I used to live in next to a transit center. Every single one of these is a freedom of information law, and every single one you've refused. I don't know how many in there are in there. It's got to be at least 500. So, again, you're a freak. The first sentence of the warrant from this freak Shannon Meyer, piece of paper delivers me to Monroe County Jail. It's a little dark here. When I show her, I'm only going to read the first sentence. This is why she's a freak. And since you, Todd Baxter, are a freak, you're not going to fire this freak. That's it right here. This piece of paper lands me in Monroe County Jail. Criminal time second when I committed that crime. The lie right here, the first one. On the above date, approximately 1440 hours, I responded to the above location report for male trespassing. Tell your cop freak Shannon Meyer to go stand right next to that parking lot where I used to live at 26 Sanders Farm Drive. Tell your cop freak, I'm not trying to be facetious. This is where I used to live. This is the parking lot. Tell your cop freak, you disgusting Jonestown Kool-Aid drinking Todd Baxter, to stand right here. She's going to see somebody walk through this parking lot at 7 a.m. They'll go through the parking lot until midnight. Tell her to stand here. Every time one foot goes in this parking lot, there better be an arrest. That's not going to happen. Where's my 14th Amendment right to equal protection of laws? I don't have one. So, there's your freak going by Wegmans. What are they doing at Wegmans? Tell your employees to get out onto Penfield Road and drive away from Wegmans. I was going into Gold's Gym in Fairport when I saw this particular psychopath drive by me. They're at that Wegmans all the time. I'm going to try not to laugh when I see this. I have seen Monroe County Sheriff Office employees standing right next to the donuts rack at this Wegmans buying donuts. Coming to my residence to man my dog. I'm not going to talk about this because I've sent you documentation because this is really exhausting. I could possibly lose it. This is him. Do you not know that people love their dogs? This Neeraj Shah who's doing this to me. If Dr. Gloria Nichols was still my dentist at 2033 Penfield, this would have never happened. 4,000 times I walked my dog on the land behind my residence that has no ownership. The back window opens from the Shaw law firm. A woman is screaming at me. Half an hour later, there's 2 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees at my residence demanding my dog. My exact language: you have to kill me to take my little guy from me. That's why people hate the police in the United States of America. 4,000 times I have walked him on that land. And when I say I talked to Timothy Murphy, when I'm talking to Timothy Murphy, Monroe County Office of Real Property Tax Service, I hope I got that right. This is what they sent me. This is nothing. Again, I repeat things. When I bought my house in the Albany suburb of Gildan Log, I didn't get this from my realtor. It's nothing like this. I remember thinking this is a real fancy document because it had some kind of gold mark or seal like that on it. This is what they sent me, where this Nairaj Shah says he owns this land right here, where nobody owns that land. Todd Baxter, pay attention to Benito Mussolini's skinhead. This is nothing. This is a joke. That's the land right there. This doesn't prove this land has ownership. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So when your cop freak tells Steve Desmond Brock Coltrane and Lawn Care to ride his tractor by my residence, they're cutting grass right here that has no ownership because this doesn't prove anything. And again, for your Benito Mussolini skinhead, Timothy Murphy, the Monroe County Office of Property Tax Services, can't confirm it. So I believe it's Sabrina Lamar, who is the president of the Monroe County Legislature. This is you, Julie Sianka, refusing to identify my process of silence. This here is UPS. This is on March 31st, 2023. April, May, over 2 months ago. Julie Sianka, the public defender in Monroe County, when she sends this back to me, knows the names of my prosecutors, and refuses to tell me their names. Here she is again. This is even earlier. This is January 30th. There are 200 documents in here for you, Julie Sianka. You refused. Todd Baxter, you call County Executive Adam Bello and get this hack Jansen McNair this patronage job. He is the very definition of a patronage hack, Jansen McNair. Double dipper Jansen McNair. Former employee of the Sheriff's Office, Jansen McNair. I'm going to say this again for you. When I contact Thomas B. DiNapoli, I'll say you refuse to answer. I'll write this down. Again, I understand if I'm not watched on YouTube. I'll write this down. I'll tell you the answer me about if you got this hack, Jansen McNair, a job at the Office of Public Integrity, where he's now a double dipper just like you, Todd Baxter. Jan McNair retired at 20 years. He's got the retirement paycheck, and then he's hired by Alan Bell. He's got a second paycheck, just like you, Todd Baxter, because you were in Greece, and now you're sheriff, and you got 2 paychecks too. So, what's Ryan Fisher doing in Atlanta, Georgia, Todd Baxter? What is wrong with you? Why can't you make a simple decision that is right and wrong? Because this is wrong. As we get ready to the Super Bowl, we're grateful for the men and women signed to keep fans and players safe in Atlanta, including MCSOs on Ryan Fisher and K9 Lola. Deputy Fisher sent this photo from Atlanta, exclamation mark. Thank you both for your service. Here's a story about Monroe County Deputy K9 ready to protect the service Super Bowl, a joke. When Ryan Fisher was in Atlanta, Georgia, the stars and bars. He's not doing his job in Monroe County when violence is crashing down on Monroe County. And have you seen the flag in the state of New York with the motto? It's so beautiful. Excelsior means ever higher. I see that flag hung in an area of the New York State Capitol called the Hall of Flags. And it had the different flags of the state of New York. The state of New York flag as it is today, it wasn't the state of New York flag from 50, 100, 150 years ago. And I used to look at the motto on it called Excelsior, and I would think ever higher is what that means. It's so beautiful and perfect for every New Yorker. You should all strive to be ever higher. This is not ever higher, you Benito Mussolini skinhead. This was not changed until 2003. They had to change it because the heat was coming down on them. I used to see this in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and Clarksville, Tennessee, because in front of the 101st Airborne Division is 41A that connects Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and Clarksville, Tennessee. And I didn't get it then. When I was 19, 20, 21 years old, I didn't get it then. I don't get it today. This is the American flag that unites every American citizen. It's a hate symbol. This is what the segregationists and the racists, this is what Governor George Wallace and Bill Connor love. And I even said to my roommate, Anthony O'Neill, who was from Anthony, California, I saw that Stars and Bars and Awards to that effect, and I don't get it. And you didn't get it either. Well, you don't get Todd Baxter. is sending your employee Ryan Fisher to Atlanta, Georgia, where taxpayers paying for it. It's corruption. So, answer me. Everything I'm demanding of you, on this day here, this document is in your office. I'm telling you, Perry Duckles on this January 1st, 2023. Disclose the names of my process of silence. So this is the last thing we're going to end with because I'm already at 40 minutes. My ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley, who I write criminal charges against, and Anthony Spano locked me out. So on this January 25th, this is in your office. I wrote to her, and I don't hear anything from her. I've known her for 30 years, and she's refusing to tell me. She took everything I own to a storage locker. Storage locker's been cleaned out. I'm locked out. I'm locked out when I don't know because of my ex-girlfriend. She's taking things to a storage locker without a court order, and she's refusing to tell me the facts and circumstances. Tell me what happened to my illegal eviction. My illegal eviction, you participated in refusing to answer questions about. The law requires a court order to remove by personal possession 26 Sandra from Drive, New York, to a storage locker in Webster, New York. Do you know the fact about the law? You left possessions in a residence. What has happened to me is insane. The question is, one, what individual called you to come over? You used to live at 26 Sandra Drive, New York. Did the dead son, Giuseppe Spano, the father, Anthony Spano, call you? Did the dead son, Giuseppe Spano, the father, Anthony Spano, used to write in language? Did the dead son, Giuseppe Spano, the father, Anthony Spano, stay in my personal possessions, be thrown in the trash? What'd you say to my sister Barbara paying for the storage locker? It's insane I have to ask these questions. Our relationship ended. I am forced to demand answers from you because you decided to inject yourself in my life. You decided to be in my life under a sick and delusional belief you're somehow helping me. I don't know if this is your email. It doesn't have your name. It begins ludicrously with send. I don't know if you still live at 781 Winifred Drive in Webster, New York. I don't know why you refused to respond to simple questions. I do not know you exist in a state of indifference to decency, despite the fact we live in 3 different residences together. What's my name? Where am I from? How long have you known me? Contact my address in Park Avenue. Blog the questions to these answers to these questions. Sign for your registered mail return receipt. When it arrives from me, you are unrecognizable. And I'm also on here about YouTube versus 4 O'Reilly again, 4 O'Reilly. Christopher Childs, 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, New York. I don't hear anything from her. I'm going to say this again for you, because he will not be arrested, Santino Spano. Because you don't know where crime is. And I'm the one that's going to write the criminal complaint. Nair Shah's not going to be arrested when I write the criminal complaint about him falsely reporting incidents. It's not a crime to alter a parking lot. Richard Siepman's not going to be arrested, charged with crime or fire when I write the criminal complaint about him violently attacking me. Michael Houlihan's not going to be arrested, charged with fire when I write the criminal complaint about him being a perjurer. It's a crime in the state of New York to move the personal possessions out of any residence without a court order, and that's what Anthony Spano did of Fairport, New York, and Laura Riley did of Webster, New York. And when I write the criminal complaint, nothing's going to happen to them. Both should be in jail because I have nothing because of that. All she had to do was contact me and say, this is what he's going to try to do to you, and have a conversation with me, and I could have perhaps kept him at bay. I don't have my dress greens from 17th Cavalry, 101st Airborne Division because he's an 80-year-old man and my ex-girlfriend. I don't have my 1,000+ books. I don't have my bed. I don't have my father's dresser he gave me from when he was a child in Brooklyn. All my clothes are gone. Every single thing I own is gone because of Laura Riley, Webster, New York, and Anthony Spano, Fairport, New York. So. Tell me who the freaks are. It's the payroll for the district attorney's office. Tell me who the freaks are prosecuting me in total silence. Perry Duckles, Mark Monahan, the revolting shack district attorney's office. And you refuse because you're immoral. My name is Christopher Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I have been an innocent man my whole life.